Hey, what's going on, guys? It's Luclin here and welcome to Game Design 101, and today I'm going to show you Photoshop. Now, for those of you out there that have been asking for alternatives to different things, Photoshop does have alternatives. One of the alternatives is GIMP. GIMP is free. You can get it off the web. Just do a search on Google, find GIMP. Also, you can probably get, I think it's called Photoshop Elements, and I think it's free or there's a 30-day trial. I'm not too sure about that, but GIMP is probably going to be your best bet if you're looking at pricing, because GIMP is free. Also, if you're in school, you can also look to getting a educational version of Photoshop. So that should help you a little bit out there, just kind of figure out what you're going to do. Okay, so what we're going to do today is we're just going to kind of go over textures in Photoshop. I'm not going to really show you how to use Photoshop just yet until we get further into it and start making textures, and even if you guys want to see more of this. So if you want to see more of this, let me know. So what I'm going to show you is just some stuff that I've done in the past and how I do things inside of Photoshop. So for instance, I start out with, and when I bring into Photoshop, I bring what we call a UV Map Wireframe, which is this right here. This is basically a barrel that's been unwrapped into a 2D image. This is what it looks like. That's exactly what it's going to look like when you output it. Okay, so what I usually do is I bring that in first, and then I start painting on it. Well, the first thing is the barrel is made of wood, so we're going to add wood into the barrel. So let's go ahead and remove the wireframe so you can see. Okay, so I would just lay a wood texture down and just basically I'll let you see how that looks. If you go through here, let's remove all these. So everything works in layers. Remember that. That's the big thing. Everything works in layers. So as you can see, those are just the slots. Like they're the slats that make up the barrel, and they all work in layers. So I just lay everything out like this, and obviously the top and the bottom are going to look the same, so we don't really care about that. And that's it. Now this was for a model pack that I did a while back for our company that we own. Okay, so for instance, metal bands. So putting the metal bands on like this, making sure they wrap around. As you can see, they kind of got a drop shadow on them, just kind of makes it look like they're above the wood itself. And this is for a low poly model, and this is how it came out. And this is what you do. When you render out of a 3D program, you'll render a wireframe like this. This is an unwrapped UVW. This is basically the picture that you get when you cut the model apart and you make the model lay, like I said before, you go from 3D to 2D, and that's what it looks like right there. So what I want to show you is how crazy this can get. So let me, first of all, you can see, like, then you go in and you can add your dirt layer, and then you can, go into your here, and I'll show you this, guys, later. Don't worry about it now. But you can kind of gruff it up a little bit, make it look dirty, stuff like that. You can do a lot of different things with this, depending on what your skill level is with Photoshop and the things that you want to do. Now, here's the end result here. This is basically a layout that I did here, and this is the end result of the barrel with the texture on it, with the polys and all that good stuff. That was for a model pack I was doing. Now, I said it could get very advanced. And what I mean by that, getting very advanced, is, let's see the ones we want to open up here. So let's open up this one. Okay, we're going to open up this one. We're going to open up this one. And we're going to open up this one. And we'll save that one for last. So this right here is a UV unwrap of a drone model that I did for one of our games that are coming out. Is different maps here. So let me explain to you what these maps are. This is called your diffuse map. This is called a normal map. This is a specular map, and this right here is a self-illumination map. Okay, and the way that these work is like this. The diffuse map is it's basically your base map. It's what lays on the texture. It's a colored map, and it lays on the texture. Now let me explain to you guys something about how crazy these can get. So if you look right here in the layers, I've got a ton of layers, and what you got to try to do is you want to try to name everything in your layers. You don't have to name it all, but you want to just kind of as you get into this, you're going to have a ton of layers. And so you're going to have all types of things that are going to affect what you're doing. So you want to make sure that you name your layers, and you put them in there the right way that they're supposed to be. Now, I know what these are because it's just my project. But what I was going to say was, it's like, for instance, this is the wireframe. That's the wireframe from the 3D program. So let me explain to you what I mean by that. So let's go ahead and take that off. Let's put this here. We're going to go through here. We're going to undo all of these just so you can see what I'm talking about. We're going to undo those just so we can get to our base wireframe, complete base wireframe. And get all those out of there, out of there, out of there. Take that out of there. Done. 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 And let's get rid of these. This. And we should be good. Remove boosters. Okay, so now, as you can see right here, the wireframe cutout. This is the wireframe from 3D Studio Max. So let me blow it up so you can actually see the wireframe itself. So this is what it looks like when you unwrap a model. Just like that. Okay? That's what you're going to get from 3D Max. And it's going to come into Photoshop like so. Once it comes into Photoshop, that's when the magic starts happening. That's when you can start painting on top of the model and doing different things with it inside of Photoshop. So let me go ahead and turn all this back on again so we can look at it. So here, here, turn all this on, all that on, all this on. So yeah, don't let this discourage you, because there's a lot to it when you're doing textures. There's a ton to it actually, but it's a lot of fun and you can have a lot of fun doing it. So let's go back up here, shut that off. Okay, now I have 2 extra layers up here that I use for more detail, like that layer there, so you can see how it kind of brings out the dirtiness and stuff like that. And then I also have this layer here that darkens it and then brings out the dirtiness more, like that, depending on how you want it to look and what your look is going to be. So basically that's a layout of a texture in Photoshop, and you can see that Photoshop works through layers. So the one I want to show you now is I want to show you guys the end result of what that looks like. So this is the end result of that. This is actually the model rendered out here, and it gives you an idea. This is a model that I did here. And as you can see the texture, you can see the specularity right here and all that good stuff. Just like that. It's pretty easy. This is a simple model. This was a drone model, and it's for a mobile game. So you don't really need a lot of detail. I mean, because you don't get really too close to it with the camera, but it looks cool. It's going to look cool from far away, and you'll be able to tell what it is. So there you go. So those are basically textures inside of Photoshop. The main things that you really want to worry about when you're doing game design and textures, especially for next gen stuff, you're going to worry about normal mapping, specular mapping, self-illumination. Those are the cool ones. And I'll teach you how to create normal maps later on, specular maps, and self-illumination maps. There's a great tool for that called Crazy Bump that I use that is awesome, because it can generate them, and then you just go through and you fine-tune them. So let's see if we can pull up the detail on this. Nope, this is the low-res one. Let me find the high-res one for you. Let's see, where's the high-res one? We want the normal right there. This is the high-res one here. So give it a minute to pull up. And if we pull this up, you can see that at 50%, 60, and what a normal map does is all a normal map does is it how do I put this? It takes a low-res model and makes it look like a high-res model. This was converted from a higher resolution model to a low poly model. And I will show you guys that in 3D Max. That's down the line. That's something called hard surface modeling. Let's see. I actually have another one I want to show you guys. There's another normal map in here. Let's find it. There's a really big normal map. I think it's this one. It is this one. Right here. This one has a lot of detail in it. But this one has a little too much detail. But you can at least get an idea of what the detail looks like. See right there? Kind of looks like you can make the paint chip off and stuff like that. All this Photoshop, point of showing you this is that you're going to be dealing with this a lot, whether it's adjusting normal maps and the colors inside of normal maps, whether it is creating diffuse maps from scratch like this, just off of a wireframe map like this. I mean, or whether it's doing something that's going to display your work like this, laying text in there and showing off your work with a fade in of a wireframe and stuff like that. I mean, it all depends on you and where you want to take it. So there's a lot that you can do with Photoshop. Photoshop is crazy, but I'm going to just show you the things that you need to know on how to create textures inside of Photoshop, and maybe also how to display your work in a portfolio too. So we'll look at maybe doing that later, but I just want to leave you guys with this. Once again, there is an alternative for Photoshop. It's GIMP, or you can probably try Photoshop Elements. You can maybe get an educational version if you're in school, and that's really about it. So if you guys find these tutorials helpful, please let me know by liking the video and encouraging more things that you want to see. Like I said, I'm going to take you through just what you need to know. I'm not going to go through and show you everything inside of Photoshop. I mean, because eventually you will know that, but it's up to you to go find that out for yourself. I'm just going to kind of give you a boost and give you the basic knowledge on what you need to do, and then you got to take it from there. So that's it, guys. This has been a tutorial on Photoshop, Game Design 101, Introduction to Textures in Photoshop, showing you normal maps, specular maps, self-illumination maps, diffuse maps. End result, you can dress up your photos, you know, for your portfolio and stuff like that. Next, we'll be going into actually creating textures. So that's it, guys. I'll talk to you later. Bye.